Hi, it's Ileana here at Awakening Cosmic Reality Show, and we have Jay Weidner here with us. Hi, Jay.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
So I'd like to ask you some interesting questions about your thoughts and opinion, whether there's a secret space program out there or not.
Yeah, there's a secret space program for sure. There's no doubt about it. I've had it confirmed from people inside NASA, military people. It's been a known thing, and I believe that the Space Force thing that Trump is advocating, I believe that's a cover so that they can now release all the stuff that they've invented already.
And what is the stuff that they've invented that we haven't had disclosure about?
Well, one time I was on Jimmy Church's Coast to Coast, and I was talking about the secret space program and some of the stuff that I had seen, and we got a caller on the call-in portion, and he said, I used to be a courier. I can't remember which Air Force base, but he was the courier. He'd go around a little scooter and deliver mail to the various offices inside the big base. And he said there was one building that was super top secret and I could not get into. I could only, knock on the door and give the mail to the guy, but that was all I was allowed. But one time he said that he pulled up to that building and the door was open. And he didn't know why, but he just walked in and there was this huge warehouse and the scientist working at the back of one single scientist working at the back of the warehouse. So he walked through the warehouse to give the guy the mail, and he passed what he described as it looked like a family van sitting on the ground, but it had no wheels. It was just sitting flat with no wheels. And he walked up and he gave the letters to the scientist, and he said, "What's that?" He pointed at the thing, and the scientist goes, "Oh, that's the thing we use up on the moon to fly around." It was very casual, and so he went back, and then he called me up and told me. But I think a lot of if you like YouTube UFO or flying saucer, um, you'll get a lot of videos. And if you just kind of take the time to go through those videos, I found that you can mark off them in one of three categories. One, a complete misidentification of what they're seeing. Two, our hardware, ours, which is, I think, the prevalent one. And then three, what I call the other. I don't know what they are. They're lights in the skies that move at incredible speeds, and they seem to have intelligence or guided by intelligence. And they're the vast majority, I would say, of all sightings are the third one, the I don't knows. And I think they're plasma beings or something. I'm not sure. Breaks some kind of moment when the parallel universe bleeds into our universe, something. But when you realize that most of the ones that are mechanical, the sightings of mechanical craft, that's ours. And the fact that it all started in the 50s, right when we decided we invented and we discovered anti-gravity by 56. The reason I say that is because it fell out of the popular literature. Now, I was really young at the time, but I don't remember. But my father collected Popular Mechanics magazines, and I remember all these articles about we're going to be living the kind of Jetson life, and everybody's going to be flying around in the zero G craft, and everybody's going to have them parked in their driveway, and then in '56 that just went away. It just went away, and we know at that time 51 to 56 was when T. Townsend Brown, who had clearly invented zero G, he was working for the Pentagon and the Navy, and so we see all this stuff accumulating. The Germans coming over here in Operation Paperclip, and we see all of this, and of course the massive amounts of funding that only the United States could give to such a program. But there's other things. There's Project Horizon, guaranteed a project that was started by the Navy to put 60,000 men on the moon by the end of the 1960s. And it, say, oh, they didn't fund it. How do we know? How do we know? We know that they've got so many ways to get black money for their black ops. I believe that they're behind a lot of the drug running and money laundering and arms sales, and it just goes on and on. And, you know, so what I'm saying is that there is an off-planet civilization, and that they are kidnapping people like you and putting them in there, and they do mundane tasks. That's one of the things I like about your story, and why I always wanted to get you on Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia. I can't remember why I was always failed on that. I can't remember, for some reason I could never get you on. But well, first off, David and Corey didn't want you on. But anyway, was that you describe what I think is probably most of the stories that are in the secret space program, not the Jason Rice, Corey Good going out in space and fighting aliens and saving the galactic princess at the end and all of that. Yours is a mundane life, a mundane story that I would say, yeah, that was exactly what I would expect from a witness, that it would be kind of boring and bland and just having to do the same thing, because it's essentially the military. And so the military is pretty much just a big bureaucracy. So the really good jobs are going to be held by very few, the exciting jobs. And then 99% of everybody else is just going to be doing support work. And so I think this is a very important subject, and it's one of the reasons why I'm kind of pissed off, excuse my language, at Corey Good, is because him doxing all those people has now made everybody afraid to come out and say anything, because they're afraid that they're going to get doxed, like Jason Rice got doxed. And so Corey, in effect, stopped disclosure. It has stopped. And all of my contacts of people that I was going to interview, both on my YouTube channel and possibly even help put guests on the Cosmic Disclosure, I had at least 7 people ready to come that were really strong voices, but they're not going to come out ever. They've told me never. And if I tell anybody their names, they're coming after me. So he has completely destroyed the movement. But also, which is interesting, as this is just now kind of being realized, their new movie, Cosmic Secret, is a movie that combines an optimistic desire for mass ascension with the apocalypse. That's the 2 main subjects of the movie. And I hate to say this, but that's what the cabal wants. They want us to go to our mass deaths with a happy face, right? And so I shudder to say it, but Cosmic Secret is cabal propaganda. And I'm sure they must have seen it when they were making it, because you can't have mass ascension in your body. You can only ascend when you die. So if you're putting together apocalypse with mass ascension, and mass ascension can only happen when you die, then you're talking about the apocalypse. And it's the cabal that wants the apocalypse. That's who, and so one way or another, David Wilcock and Corey Good have made a cabal propaganda film. And I don't know how they could have done this without knowing it. I mean, it's so obvious when you watch it. So anyway, yes, there is a secret space program. I have many confirmations of it. I've known about it for a long time. I was told in the early 90s by a senior person at NASA that we'd already gone to the moon and Mars. And I was like jaw dropped, because I was just I support NASA, and we went to the moon, and then, you know, I just dropped in, and that's sort of the impetus for me finding out that Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landings, because I knew that they certainly weren't, if we were that advanced, that, as he said to me in the early 90s, then we were really advanced by 1969. And so I would, you know, I'm saying to myself, well, wait a minute, if that's true, then they would never show us what they really had. So then it must be fake. You know, it's big fake out. And then I started putting together the same timeline as 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now it was the Apollo program, and that, you know, it was sort of put out 2001 was sort of put out as kind of a propaganda film for NASA. And Fred Ordway, one of the heads of Apollo, worked on 2001 Space Odyssey and all of that. And so we got this idea that when you're in low gravity, you're in slow motion. We got that from 2001 A Space Odyssey. Well, it's nothing could be further from the truth. When you're in low gravity, you can move much quicker. Things happen much faster. You've got to be careful because you can get yourself hurt. And so the whole thing was just kind of a big setup. And then they funneled all the money. It's just so the people at NASA that are listening don't get mad. They funneled all that money, and you guys really did work on stuff, but it wasn't for the Apollo program. The stuff you worked on was for the Secret Space program. All as a cover for the Apollo was a cover for the Secret Space program. So they could fund sift $30 billion, which is a lot of money in the 60s. So it'd be probably 200 or 300 billion at least, if not a trillion now, over into their black op programs, and then to make sure it all stays secret, they first they did the recruiting, which we know they did, and we know it from Alternative 3. They did the recruiting, and people disappeared, and then I think my good friend David Paulides' books, Missing 411. I think a lot of those people have been taken into the secret space program. For one thing, there's a lot of seriously intelligent people that go missing. And, there's a case in Colorado that I followed really closely. A young man was a mathematical wizard, came here from Kentucky on vacation, and he was right near my house up in the woods. And he and his friend decided to go out for a run. They were really athletic. So he's this young, handsome guy from Kentucky and his friend, and they go off on a run through the mountains. And the other guy is much faster runner, so he gets out ahead of this guy. And the faster guy gets back to the camp place, and he waits, and his friend never arrives. So a big search starts. I was part of that search, and that covered like huge amount of ground over and over for weeks, and no trace of this guy. So his family, is telling people that, he planned to go into the Air Force, and he was like super smart, and they were recruiting him as soon as he got out of, he was out of high school. He was thinking about which college to go to or go to the Air Force. And so anyway, he disappeared. And about 3 years later, somebody hiking in a very obvious area that had been searched 25 times, there he was, laying there, and crumpled up. And so the police came, and the sheriff, and he said, oh, he fell off that cliff. And the cliff is like a mile away from where he's found, right? And you're like, wait a minute here. And then his mom says, oh, no, he didn't like heights. He doesn't like running up cliffs and stuff. He just liked to stay on the flat. And then I thought, I wonder what's going on here. And I thought about, actually ran this by David Paulides. I said, do you think that he was taken into the secret space program, and for some reason it just didn't work out, right? And or maybe he got hurt or killed up working for the secret space program, and then they just said, okay, just dump him back in the area where we found him. And I hate to say it, but there's so many people that they say fell from cliffs that were far away from cliffs in David Paulides' books, that I'm wondering, are these the rejects, the people that didn't work, right? The people who complained or said, I don't want to do this, I went on strike, or, or just big problems for the guys. And it's okay, get rid of him, and then to make sure that there's no mystery around it, they just drop him from a plane, at the same area where he was lost, and then, oh, they got found, and there's no mystery here. And there's one of the books, he talks about a really smart physicist who's at a conference in Lake Arrowhead in California, and he goes out for a walk in the woods, and he never comes back. And you've got to wonder, how can a guy, 50-year-old guy with 2 or 3 master's degrees, he goes out in a very safe area, Lake Arrowhead. I used to go up there all the time. It's a very safe area. There's no You know, there are bears, but the bears are terrified of humans because they get shot at. And there's just coyotes if there's no other predators, mountain lions. But here's the thing: predators leave behind blood and stuff, and these missing, you know, those are excluded in these books. If they find blood or anything like that, then they know it's a mountain lion or whatever. Mountain lions also don't really kill people. They're really shy, and they don't really attack people very often. But anyway, so I think a lot of that's going on, and I think that there's um, I think the mass migrations also are a great disguise for getting people, especially lower end people, right? You're moving, huge populations are moving from Guatemala to the United States. We have no idea what's going on. Anybody could be picked up via Mexico and taken. And the same thing with in Europe with all the people that are in mass migration. So I actually think the mass migration is some kind of cover for this operation in some ways. And also it's just, there's so many strange stories that Paulides has uncovered that the secret space program just appears to be one of the more logical explanations for it, for especially the highly intelligent people. And he also points out something else that's really interesting. He did a analysis of everybody missing, all the people that he's studied and looked at, and vast majority of them are from German descent, which I find strange and odd, especially because we think that there's this strange German aspect to the whole thing. And you just wonder if they're looking for their own kind or something like that. So again, there is a secret space program, but where and what, it's going to be hard. And we want disclosure, but it looks like we're not going to have it now because everybody's terrified. So it's literally in the hands of Trump, I guess.
Well, I've noticed that the US Navy recently patented what looks like a TR-3B craft that could operate underwater and in airspace. And it's openly patented, and they've also patented a conductor that's a free energy device that could power your whole house and power a city.
Yeah.
Open patents, and it says it's operable. So
Yeah. I'm actually, I was talking to Paul Laviolette, and he thinks that they're using conventional aircraft, but the engines aren't working. They're just putting the gravity devices in them and then flying around in what looks like a jet, right? But it isn't a jet at all. And I know you're right about that, and that does signal some kind of something is coming. And the same thing with the release of the video of the TikTok. So it does look like something's coming. I know that there's a lot of pressure from guys that are probably just a little bit older than me that have been in these programs their whole life, and they've been told, you know, like 40 years ago, yeah, we're going to release all this stuff in 10 years, and then 30 years ago, yeah, we're going to release it in 20 years. Yeah, we're going to release it in 10 years. So now these guys are like in their 70s and 80s, and they have had it. Those are who I'm talking about, by the way. That's what my whistleblowers were. We're all guys who had it. They're in their 70s, and they're going to die. They don't care, and they are just going to blow everything off. But they don't want their families to get doxxed and their wife's names to be released and children's names to be released. And so we know that, you know, these guys in the Fear of Being Alliance are, you know, pretty nasty, and that they will do that. So nobody's coming forth. It's really sad. So it really is up to Trump and the people in the military to put this right. Now, here's the thing. Just like with your case, you know, can they be held criminally accountable? That's the thing, and that's another part of we have to somehow make some kind of weird promise that we're not going to hold you criminally accountable for your lousy and terrible behavior and kidnapping and all the other things that you did, probably murder and a lot more. And I don't know if I want to do that. You know, I don't know if I want to let them off the hook. So, you know, I've talked to too many people that really had their lives really messed up by this whole thing. And they didn't get any money. They're all promised money. They never got any money. They were slaves, and then their lives are all completely destroyed when they get back to the regular life. They can't function. They can't find a partner. You know, and it's one story after. It's like the same story every time. You know, occasionally somebody will get lucky and have a partner like Jason Rice does. You know, but I know for sure that she got extremely stressed out by him coming out. And I think that may be one of the reasons why he has gone away. And so I think that I don't know if I want to let him off the hook. And that's a real conundrum for me, because I want the technology to come out. I want the stories to come out, but I don't want them to get away with it. I'm tired of these people in the government and getting away with stuff. And we got to hold them accountable. And that's one of the reasons I came out, was because I was so disturbed by everything I was hearing that I decided I was going to come out and hold them accountable. And they are kind of laughing at us and saying, you can't touch us. And maybe we can't.
We can't, because some of the technology, what I was doing on Mars was working in the cybernetics labs, making human cyborgs. That's stuff that's 200 years more advanced than what we have here on Earth. And in the last couple of weeks, that whole thing from the US Army came out called Cyber Soldier 2050 for the DoD. When I read that, I was shocked, because that's exactly like my presentation, Cybernetics Labs, that I put out in 2016. And it's same plan, same manifesto for 2050.
Yeah, so there's going to be a slow bleed out of the info between now and then, is what I'm thinking, because my generation will be gone by then. So they don't have to put up with the boomers bitching and moaning like we always have our whole life. And I believe that they've also got some sort of plan for between now for the next 10 years. There's something going to happen around 2025 that I have heard rumors about, and that's going to be the precursor event for something really big in 2030. And of course, we know about Agenda 2030.
Yes.
And there are plans to move everybody into the city, out of the country. And that's a very real thing. I'm watching that. I live out in the country, and I'm watching that being executed right before my eyes. They're tearing down all the coal power plants out in the country. So if you're poor, your electricity bill is going to go up to $200 or $300, $400 a month, and you're not going to be able to pay it. So you're going to have to move to the city where they'll have nuclear power, like in Denver and Seattle and all these big cities will have nuclear power. And so I can actually see the agenda rolling out. I can see that the healthcare facilities in the country are getting worse and worse and worse. I wouldn't even go to them now. I'll travel the 3.5 hours to get to a major city before I'll go to the localized healthcare, because it's terrible. And the people they're the worst of the worst. And so I'm watching Agenda 2030 happening in front of me, and I'm telling all my friends who live out in the country near me, I said, get on solar power as fast as you can. They're going to cut your power off. And I've also been told that, you know, they're going to cut the power. This is, by the way, what's going on in California. There's a test case for how they do it. They love to they're like a corporation. I worked for corporations my whole life, and corporations do is they have an idea, then they start it, they test it small, then they test it a little bigger, then they test it a little bigger, then they go with it if the tests are successful. And that's what they're doing here. And the PG&E power outages in California it's little tests, a little bit bigger tests, and how much will they put up with, when do they riot, how long do they go before the food in the refrigerator is completely rotten? Because when the food in the refrigerator rots, then FEMA can come to your door and say that you have a, what do they call it?
Biohazard?
Yeah, thank you. A biohazard in your house, and you must go to the camp. And they take them off to the camp. And so that's the main reason, because we don't have free energy yet. So you need to get solar so you can, keep your refrigerator going so that they can't come and take you away. But they're going to find other ways. They've already outlawed, believe it or not, in Colorado, it's against the law to have a garden. Yep. That's a provable fact. It's against the law to have a garden. And they aren't enforcing it. They would have riots in the streets if they did, but they can enforce it, and they will. And so you can see all the steps are in for something big. And then, of course, they're spreading the global warming propaganda when actually we're in a cooling period. So everybody's prepping for global warming. Everybody's prepping for one thing, and they know as much as I do. They've seen the long-term cycles and statistics. They know what's about to happen is not a warming spell. It's a freezing spell. So everybody's going to be caught with their pants down, and they know it, and they're setting us up for it. And I wish I knew what it is in 2024, 2025 that's going to happen. But you can imagine okay, so Trump's probably going to win in 2020. Okay, so that's going to cause a whole bunch of unrest. But can you imagine what's going to happen in 2024? Oh my God. I mean, this country is going to be so divided, so stratified that I don't know. I could easily see us descending into some kind of unrest. And at the same time, I'm actually optimistic. We have a lot of really good things going for us too. And if we could get free energy, that would really help, because we stop the destruction of the environment. Solar panels are not good for the environment. You have to throw them away after 20 years. They're made out of plastic, and they're just not good. But, we have no choice at the moment. So if you're out there, guys, listening, please help us release the info on the 0G ships and the free energy. That's all we want.
That's key to success. I mean, I don't have the option of putting solar panels. I have a huge house here. I can only do a backup generator, which I do have because where I am in BC near the ocean, because I've moved, there's a lot of storms, like natural storms and wind and rain. So a backup generator, even if they cut out my electricity, plug it in and away we go.
Yep, that's good. A backup generator is the second place. So you live on the West Coast?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Washington State?
No, I'm in British Columbia, Canada.
Oh,
actually,
nice.
Part
on
of
the
the
Pacific side?
Yes, part of the reason why I couldn't get out to Gaia to film for Cosmic Disclosure is because of my health.
Right. That's right. You've been in bad health. I forgot about that.
Yeah, the SSP programs compromised my autoimmune system. I had been abducted by reptilians. That caused major health issues since I was a kid. And I mean, I have these migraines that cause paralysis. I can't board a plane and fly. I have autoimmune issues that literally can make me go into adrenal shock and stuff. So I can't fly. So and you guys, when you were talking to me on the phone, you said, well, maybe we can come out to you and film something in a studio, but that costs money, and it's logistics, and it's a nice story. Like, I didn't find it mundane working in cybernetics labs. It involved a lot of science, genetics, autoimmune system stuff, even like I said, genetics. So for me, it was like heavenly job because I love science, I love medicine. I'm not trained as a medical professional, but I know things that I shouldn't. So for me, I thought it was exciting. However, it is slavery in the SSP.
It is, and you don't know what, without any atmosphere, very little atmosphere, you're getting cosmic rays or bombarding you, and just that alone, I mean, can be bad. Just in flying between planets is extremely dangerous, and and that's the reason that they keep it covered up, because they do so much damage to everybody that's in it that it would cost literally trillions of dollars in health care costs. So they just hide the whole thing. Say, screw it, we'll just use them. And it's I hate to say it, but that's exactly the attitude that the Germans had in the death camps. I mean, they didn't care. They'd pull next prisoner in, experiment on him. Okay, if he lives, he lives. If he dies, he dies. We don't care. And so it was It's slavery.
They can even extract your soul physically from your body, put you into electromagnetic container force field, and put you into a cyborg body or a clone. Then once you've done your mission or whatever, they put you back into your human body, put you back in bed like nothing ever happened. So, and the Germans, the Fourth Reich, Third Reich experimented with that on Mars. That's how that stuff started out. So they do a lot of atrocities, a lot of horrible things in these cybernetic labs. And that's connected to the bases, to the military bases on Mars. So that's what I got to see. I got to see the dead bodies, the blood, the cybernetics tech immersed with the body parts, the tissues, the bones, and then you have a biological AI cyborg walking around that either has their own soul in it or somebody else's soul, and you got your perfect soldier, cyborg soldier 2050 agenda. That's what they're going to do on Earth. They want us implanted with Neurolink implants, and that's something Elon Musk is doing with his Neurolink project. Huge company that they opened in 2016. So I think the cybernetics agenda is they want to implant us with RFID chips or these Neuralink implants, and they want us connected to a hive mind by 2030. I think that's what it is. Huge.
I would agree. Yeah, and they know that the boomers will never go for it, so they're going to just start getting rid of the boomers because they're too old fashioned to want to stick this stuff in them. They've got the younger kids already and raring to go. They can't wait to become cybernetics. And but it won't be everybody. It's just going to be a few, because you're essentially going to be immortal, and you don't want everybody immortal because that's way too many people. So there's going to have to be first a separation and then a culling. And the separation is what's going on now. This is, again, what the mass immigration is. It's to cause so much confusion and chaos that everybody is confused, and then it's easier to take us down. And this is amazing to watch, actually, when you know the end game, and then you watch the game on an everyday level. It is like, oh my God, you start predicting things and you know where it's headed. And I have no doubt, you're right. I have no doubt that I would say we'll probably have these cyber soldiers way before 2050. I would say 2030. And then all wars and the police will be these guys, and that they will do the culling, if you understand what I mean.
I do.
It won't be done by humans. It'll be done by these cyborgs who basically will just look around. Anything that's 98.7 degrees gets killed. That's the way it is. They have a heat sensor on them, and they can identify every single human anywhere, and hiding in the woods and hiding up in the mountains, even underground. They can interpenetrate and now find you even in cave systems. And the fact that all this stuff has been invented for a reason. This is the reason why it's been invented, and we're right on the edge of this new world. It'll be here by the end of the fourth turning, according to the book The Fourth Turning. The end of the fourth turning is 2025. So that is the beginning of the next turn. And I know for certain that people in the government know about the fourth turning and are watching it. Steve Bannon, who was Trump's aide, he actually made his whole speech about the fourth turning and how we have to get ready for it and prep ourselves for this big, massive change. And so this is why they're doing all the change. And this is why they've destroyed the music business. They've destroyed the movie business. They can't have anybody operating freely, not on a mass level. So everything has to be tightly controlled, has to be geared towards chaos and confusion and kind of a I hate humans attitude. That's the one thing that they want us to do, is hate ourselves. They want us to think we're bad, we're destroying the world, like Greta Thunberg thinks. Her whole childhood is ruined. They've ruined her. Her parents should be sued for child abuse. But all the kids are coming out this way. They're angry. They think the world's going to end. And this is all propaganda being done by the same people that are behind the secret space program. And I would say that I had a vision about 2 years ago, and it was like 12-foot giant cyborgs that could run at 60 to 70 miles an hour with incredible weaponry, incredible technology, and basically just walking through the countryside, getting rid of every person. And it was a horrifying vision, but I don't see where they're going with all of this except for that.
Well, they want to weaponize humans, like make part biological human, part cyborg. So the Neurolink implants, if you have that in your brain, you're a cyborg automatically. You don't need the machinery. You don't need anything else. But if you have implants, you're a cyborg. You're partly human, biological, and you have some kind of advanced AI Neuralink implant in your brain. So that makes you a cyborg. You don't need full body armor. You don't need everything replaced with cybernetics. Anything that's within you that's artificial AI, you're considered a cyborg. And that's the cyborg soldiers that they want. They don't want full cyborg. They want human cybernetics together.
Right.
Weaponize the humans, make them impartial cyborgs, and they can mind control you and mind manipulate you.
That's
program your implants.
That's right. You get hacked. That's
Yeah.
the thing. They hack you, and then you're completely controlled by them. They can tell you what to do and what to think and everything. At first, it'll look like it's really good. They'll do a process where the beginning at the implant, it's going to be great. I mean, you're going to be super powerful and you're going to know everything and everything. But then slowly, you're going to fall under the spell of whatever it is that they want, and then you'll end up just being a slave. And that's where we're headed. And everyone will be that way probably. Because if you don't get the implant, then you're not going to get a job. You can't go to school. You can't get a job because the job will be completely oriented towards, the neural network. And so they talk to each other through the neural network. You won't even be able to talk to your fellow workers without it. You won't be able to access data. You won't be able to buy food because it'll all be up there in the implant. All your bank account, everything will be up there. And so you'll have to do it. It'll be a matter of survival. Of course, you add that with the social credit thing that's going on in China. Now everything that you think is recorded into the social credit network. So if you have bad thoughts a lot of times, then your credit rating goes down. Bad thoughts could be like, I don't like being pushed around. I don't like being told what to do. And then pretty soon you've got the most conformist, and that has to be the end game. I'm sorry, that just has to be the end game. And then the human race is gone. It's really called the Great Reset. That's what I call it. And I believe it starts in January, actually. Astrologically, it starts on January 5th of 2020 when Saturn move and Pluto move into Capricorn. And I think that those are really, I hate to say it, but those are two really dark signs. To have them in Capricorn is disconcerting. And I know a lot of people don't like astrology. I don't like, I think on a day-to-day basis, it probably doesn't work, but I think on long cycles, it's something very useful to watch. And since I watch cycles, I follow it. So I would say that I don't think it's going to be like a sudden thing. I just think there's going to be a descent into chaos. It's election year, so that's even going to enhance it even more here in America. And so I think that I would like people to be nicer to each other and kinder to each other because I see everybody so nasty nowadays. But I just don't see how we're going to turn the corner and go back to being nice people again. It just doesn't seem possible. And I blame social media for the nastiness of the human race right now. I think social media has done a lot more harm than good. I don't use it because every time I went to Twitter, it just looked like a nightmare. I mean, it's just everybody trashing everybody and yelling at each other, and Facebook just looked kind of stupid. So I don't follow it, so I feel a little bit left out. But I feel like it's all by design too, that the human mind matrix is going to be built by Facebook, Google, and Amazon and the rest. They're gonna, you can just see where they're going with it. You know, you've got your neural network in your brain, and you go, oh, gee, I wish I had this book, and then immediately it's ordered for you. But it's worse than that, because with these quantum computers that are coming out, so you and I are friends, and I write to you and I say, oh, you want to hear my new song I wrote? Right? And then I have a little video of me singing my song, right? And the next thing you know, the quantum computers, they picked that up and they've made a record out of it, and it's out. And they listen to all the songs and they pick the best ones that there are, and then they put them out. So it won't even be your song. You write a short story, it's taken by the quantum computer immediately and put into the base. Everything, nothing will be copyrightable. No work of art, no anything, no poems, no books. Everything will be immediately taken that's of any value, that is, by the quantum computer when you send the email or when you type your book. It's already taken. Everything's going to be taken. It can take so much data that everything that's going on in the world can be recorded in a quantum computer and take out hardly any space in the memory. So it's that big thing. I think they're built in Utah, that big database place. I think that's what that is. I think it's all quantum computers that are basically watching everybody, even now, right now. They're recording the conversation we're having.
Oh yeah, I mean, Zoom is encrypted. It's better than Skype because Skype sells all your information. So I feel a little better about Zoom because it's better quality. But still, like I heard that these quantum computers, if you have your image on Facebook, Twitter, like your photo of yourself, and you put out a lot of info, it studies you and it integrates it into the algorithm, and literally it can impersonate you on the internet. Could create profiles and impersonate you because it has your picture, has your algorithm, and it knows how you think. If you put too much stuff on social media about your personal life, et cetera, it can fake your account because you put out everything. What you eat every day on Facebook, what you look like, who you're married to, how many kids you have, where you are physically in the universe, in this planet, or whatever. It collects all of that data and it's hackable.
Yep, and that's by the way, we're only I say they've already been invented. I know they've already been invented. I think they've been invented for quite a while now, but they're going to announce the invention within a year and a half. Quantum computers are going to be in every corporation, everything, and people do not understand how powerful these things are. And another thing is that they can figure everything out. They're so fast that they can figure everything out. Computations which used to take 10 or 15 years to figure out a certain calculation can be done in seconds now with these computers. And so pretty much we're going to know everything in like 5 or 10 years with the help of these computers. So I mean, we literally are heading into some world that is, I don't know, way away from anything that anyone's ever imagined. No science fiction writer, no prophet, nobody's imagined what the world that we're coming into and the speed at which we're coming into it. You know, I was reading a book by Arthur C. Clarke, he wrote in the 1950s, The City and the Stars, a really good science fiction book. And it was Arthur C. Clarke was imagining what the world was going to be like in 10 million years. And he's got laptops, he's got plasma screen TVs, he's got interactions, he's got people can create their own TV shows. I mean, and this is what, 1950, so 65 years, but he thought was going to be in 10 million years. We've practically achieved it in less than a century. So, you know, this is how fast we're moving as a species. And I think we may be ending as a species. You know, I think we're evolving into sort of like a machine, a human machine, and we're going to be immortal, and we're going to be super intelligent, and because we're going to be mostly cybernetic, we're going to be able to go into space, and not have to worry about the all the cosmic rays and things hitting us, and we're going to just live forever. You replace parts, your arm falls off, you get a new arm, and that's where we're headed. And people that are breathing, living, breathing today, as we speak, this is going to happen to them. I don't know
Yeah.
how old they are, but I would say anybody under 15 years old is probably going to end up living for a long, long time if they're in the right group.
Well, I mean, this happened to me on Mars. I had the Neurolink implants in my brain, these gold optic nanofibers, and it's like a supercomputer. It's connected to all the databases, to the quantum computers, because that's what they use on Mars. So you're hooked into everything that's AI, electronic. It's all holographic databases. You don't type on keyboards. It's all holographic, and you sit in these bases. You enter stuff into the database, missions, a health, who the SSB asset is, where they're based somewhere else off planet, what ships, whatever. It's all interconnected, and they can all talk to each other through these Neuralink implants.
So they didn't they don't actually insert it in your brain, do they? It sits on the outside, has wires.
No, it's in your brain. It's inserted into your brain, but it's so microscopic you can't see it on an MRI.
And is it still in your brain and they just turned it off?
No, it's out. It's out of my brain because it started to leak the gold stuff. And
Right.
I actually had physical scarring on my brain and a lot of migraines. When I got an MRI, left side of my brain was scarred. So,
Really?
yeah, well, I mean, what I remember working on autoimmune stuff on Mars. So I ended up remyelinating the scar tissue that got left from the lesions when the implant was removed. So I've remyelinated the lesions and gotten rid of that with subcutaneous immunoglobulin therapy, because it literally gets rid of demyelination damage, like brain tissue scarring. So that's techniques from Mars using biological medications and drug serums. So I remember that process and did it here on Earth because it's available. So my lesions are gone after 2 years, magic, gone. That's biological medicine. So in convoluted ways, I remember how to reverse the damage from these implants based on what I know about science and medicine from Mars, from what they do.
A lot of people should, you can help a lot of people. There's a lot of people who have these implants and they don't know what to do with them.
Well, I mean, you have to literally do psychic surgery on yourself or get somebody else who's experienced in moving energy and metaphysical alternative medicine. You can't just physically go to the ER and like take out my interdimensional cybernetics implants. I have Neuralink implants that's leaking gold in my brain and I got these lesions and scars, like take it out. You literally have to know how to move energy to get rid of these interdimensional implants in the brain because they're not seeable on fMRI, MRI, or brain spect.
Right.
Like I had brain spect done and it shows brain damage. Scars and lesions MRI shows brain damage and scars and lesions, and everybody's like, we can't help you. We don't know how to get rid of these deep matter, white matter lesions in your brain. And the first thought I had, drug serums on Mars. Well, what did they use? Simple human plasma to regenerate your body, because it can get rid of scars in your brain. It can regenerate the autoimmune system. It can reset your central nervous system.
When you say human plasma, what do you mean? You don't mean blood?
Okay, you have the blood and you separate the plasma from the blood and it's
right.
made into a biological medication.
Right.
It's called, it could be intravenous immunoglobulin therapy or subcutaneous immunoglobulin therapy, and it could be injected in different dosages. I do it at home every week. Once a week, 1 week, twice a week, the other week, and I rotate. So it's literally through the past, the lesion was discovered in 2017 after the Neuralink implants were removed. And it took until 2019 with the plasma therapy to get rid of the lesions. And that's shown on the MRIs, the progression of the lesions going away. So like I have physical evidence of it.
So is this standard operational therapy or is this something odd and exotic?
Well, it's not exotic. It's been available since the 1970s. It's called off-label. It costs $4,000 for 3 months. I get it funded and subsidized by the government because there's no way my work won't cover it. Because this is off-label treatment for people with autoimmune disorders. I have autoimmune disorder as well, and that's from the reptilian abductions as well. So I've been able to reset my autoimmune system and get rid of my lesions and reduce my migraines just with human plasma alone.
Well, that's very interesting. I'm really fascinated by plasma, and it's one of my favorite subjects. And I did not know they were using human plasma like that. Makes total
Well,
sense. So,
yeah,
so it's what
it's
really, your etheric body is made out of plasma,
mhm.
and so you're really repairing your etheric body, your astral body, and that's where all healing has to start anyway. So um, that's very interesting.
Well, and I remember from my past lives as extraterrestrials, some extraterrestrials have more plasma in their blood, and it's blue blood. So they can use their plasma to heal faster and regenerate wounds because they have that in the blood, the ability to quickly heal. We don't have that as Earth humans at this moment. But if you get more plasma into yourself, there's different types of immunoglobulin therapies. There's the IgG, there's IgM. So you can verify, like literally verify and change different antibodies, antigens in your body, depending on what kind of diseases you have, what you need regenerated. So you can switch out these immunoglobulin antibody therapies.
Interesting.
There's more than
Great.
one type available, depending what you need. I couldn't travel to the outpatient clinic and sit there with an IV for 3 days in a row each month. It was just too much. It caused me side effects. So I'm like, can I inject this into myself subcutaneously somehow? I was rejected into the program, but I wrote a letter saying I don't want to be a disabled person. I need this therapy. Got accepted as off-label outpatient. I just pick it up every 3 months and do it to myself every week.
It's cool. It's very cool.
It works, and it's a medical science. It's biological drug serums. It's
So you're feeling
biological.
better?
I am
Oh,
feeling
good.
much better. And that's why I'm here sitting with you and doing this chat.
That's really good news to hear.
Yeah, I still can't travel, but I can get around locally. So
Yeah,
better health. I'm not stuck in bed so much no more.
that's really good news. You're looking better. I have to say that.
Well, and it's better. Like the reason why I'm better is because I used my Mars training and my Mars memories from the hypnosis regression sessions to actually dive deep into autoimmune system biological medications from what I know from Mars, from what they do, because they use a lot of drug serums. If you have any type of disease, I'll just inject you with some serum, and that will temporarily block out the disease for a couple of months. Then they inject you again every couple of months, and it blocks out the disease. So I'm like, well, we have this on Earth too, biological drug serum to do it. So I did it, and it works because that's what they did on Mars for me up there.
That's what that was their cure-all, on Mars.
Yes.
And it was plasma, basically injecting you with your own plasma.
Yeah, not my plasma, somebody else's
Oh,
plasma.
really? So it doesn't matter about blood type.
No, it doesn't, because they purify it, they clean it, and I live on somebody else's plasma subsidization because
I see.
there's a lot of donors who donate.
Right.
And on Mars, it was the same. It's not, well, my plasma can be cleaned with plasmapheresis, but they have to take out my blood, purify it in the spinner, and then put it back in me, and you have to sit there for hours.
Right.
No thanks. I'd rather just inject somebody else's plasma. That's much easier.
I'd really appreciate if you could send me any literature or whatever you have on that. That sounds.
Oh, I do.
I'm doing a big show on Gaia on plasma, and I'm going to interview all the top plasma physicists, and I'd like to maybe incorporate some of this in there. I don't want to, make it real popular, but for people who have autoimmune disorders, it sounds like something really worthwhile pursuing.
Well, I mean, this immunoglobulin therapy, it can reverse some of the symptoms of multiple sclerosis in the lesions. It's primarily used for multiple sclerosis. I used it on myself for Hashimoto's encephalopathy and the migraines to get rid of my lesions. Works the same way because it's the same type of lesions. So it's incredible. I have a lot of research that I could send to you.
I would love to see it. Really would. That sounds really fascinating. I'm glad you're feeling better. And, now you got to get over the whole psychological scars.
I'm over that. I've been over that since, well, the way you get over it is by facing the memories, like doing hypnosis, work with legitimate hypnosis therapists, learn hypnosis yourself so you can do it on yourself because you can work through the crap, through these trauma memories, these bleed overs, these alters. Learn hypnosis, do it yourself. I did it, I learned it, and I've worked with others who have done hypnosis on me. That's where it took the emotion out of the experiences and I just put it in presentations.
Yeah, that's generally that's how you get over trauma for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
you just have to face it and be glad that you lived through it.
Yeah, I mean, I've moved, I'm in a far better place. And I really I chose to embrace the memories that I have from Mars, the medical science. Sometimes there's triggers. I'll see something and my brain will start computing neuroscience equations. So how do you reverse lesions? How do you do this? How do you do that? I can go on and on and on, just blathering about this stuff because my mind just goes into that mindset and I start talking science and people are like, oh my God, what is she talking about?
So are you going to keep doing your show and all that?
Yeah, I'm back.
Good.
I took half a year off because somebody actually stole my presentations and turned them into French and reposted them on their blog.
That's not good.
Yeah, it was a copyright violation. I really tore into them to take it down, and I had to put all the videos and the presentations in storage to stop this person from continually taking my stuff.
What a world. Goodness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I lived through it, survived, moved on. Now everything's back on public knowledge. Apparently, YouTube enjoys stuff on secret space programs, aliens, and UFOs. It's one of the 3 most popular topics on YouTube right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And as long as you don't mention the term that you called Germans in World War II, you can't use that word anywhere. So there's 2 N words you can't use. You get kicked off immediately, and that's why.
Yeah, I don't use them.
No, I don't either. I don't even really cut. I don't like people cussing on my show or anything because I don't want to fall out of favor with YouTube. They like what I'm doing, but they can cut you off at the knees at any point. And so I even started putting ads on, even though I don't need the money, just because I want to be monetized. Because I hear they're going to kick you off if you can't prove that you're making money for YouTube. So unfortunately, I was forced to put ads up. I didn't want to, but I just want YouTube to think, okay, this guy's making us some money, so he's cool, and he doesn't do like politics or anything, so that's cool. And yeah, so UFOs and secret space program, those are big things.
Yeah, I monetized as well. I just said, you know what? I don't like ads, but you know what? They're not so intrusive. I just put them before the video starts, not in the middle, not in the end. So I just put it before the video. That way there's some ads. It's fine. It doesn't disrupt anything really. YouTube seems to think that's cool, and you get, I don't care about the money. You make very little money from these things.
No, if I make $10, it's amazing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it was great talking to you, and I'm so glad you're feeling better. You're looking better. And
Thanks so much, Jay. It was nice to hear your perspective on things and, to talk a little bit about this stuff as well. Thank you so much.
thank you. See you later.
Bye.